This week's Torah portion contains one of the most confusing actions done by our forefathers, Jacob. Now, on the surface, it makes very little sense. But when you get a little deeper, it's actually an incredible lesson in life. So Jacob's on the way back. He ran away. He built a family. He's now coming home. He's going to deal with Esau. There's a lot of drama in the portion this week. But when he comes back, there's like a subtle digression that is an unbelievable story. Jacob settles his camp, his family in camp one night, and then he forgot stuff. So he crosses over this small little river, and he goes to an area where he forgot some of his small things. He turns around from retrieving it, and he sees a guy, a man. Now, this man happens to be an angel. And the man comes up to him and starts to wrestle with him. The man jumps him. He's alone in the desert, and he gets jumped by some random guy. So Jacob's not having it. So he fights back. This is what's going on. And they're fighting all night long. Of course, this is a very deep area, but let's talk about it from the surface. They're fighting and fighting and fighting. At the end of the night, the angel goes, I got to go back to heaven. And Jacob goes, no, you're not leaving until you give me a blessing. And the angel says, well, what's your name? He says, Jacob. He says, your name shall no longer be Jacob. It shall be Israel. This is the switch. This happens later, but this is the beginning of the switch. Israel, the children of Israel. This is where it happens. So if you think about the story, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Can you imagine like some Israeli commando is, in some tough area in America, makes the wrong turn, ends up in an alleyway, and some guy jumps him, and he thinks he's dealing with some short Jewish guy. Meanwhile, he was Sayar Matkal or something, and he wipes the floors with him. Can you imagine at the end of that battle, the Israelis hey, yeah, can I ask you for a favor? Can you give me a blessing? Can you put your hands on my head and give a rep? What? That's who you're getting blessings from? The guy who jumps you, the thug? Really? Jacob needs a blessing that badly? How desperate is Jacob for blessings? I mean, he speaks to God. God himself appears to Jacob. So Jacob needs a blessing from the guy who jumps him in the desert? Really? How low is the standard for being a blesser? Why does Jacob end the exchange? Why doesn't he just walk away? Mic drop and leave? Fine, you don't want to trash talk. I get it. You're a holy guy, but you're getting a blessing from the guy? So let's delve a little bit, because Jacob is teaching us an incredible lesson. Jacob gets jumped in the desert. He's coming back to Canaan. He's coming back to Israel. And he understands one thing, that what he's doing all night is not fighting with some guy. He's battling a challenge. That man represents Esau, the angel of his arch enemy. What he was doing all night long was engaged in challenge, in fight, in struggle for what's right, for what's true, for what is his. What Jacob realizes throughout the entire night is that the challenge that he is facing in is going to be the pathway to the blessing that he's going to get. And so when the angel is finished, he turns to him and says, now that I've engaged in you in challenge, now I want my blessing. Because the only reason why you came to me and packaged yourself in challenge is because God wants to give me blessing. Because what Jacob understood is that one of the ways in which you get blessing in life is through the package called challenge. Challenge, struggle, the battle. Battling what is wrong is what makes you great. Greatness is not when things come comfortably easy. Greatness is uncomfortable. Jacob sees that he's engaged in this level of battle. He knows that this is just blessing in disguise. And so when the battle is done, he turns to him and goes, all right. And the angel gives him the blessing. But what the angel gives him is not great job, you should be strong. God should make you healthy for the rest of your life. You know what the angel says to him? Your name is no longer Jacob. Your name is Israel, because you battled with angel and with man and you won. Because Israel, Yisrael, the word Sarisa which is the core of Yisrael, means to battle, to engage, to struggle, because that is the gift. And that is the perspective of the Jewish people. We are who we are because we're not engaged. We're not scared to engage and challenge. If you look at some of the greatest accomplishments the Jews have ever made, whether it's in Torah and how it developed, whether it's in getting back the state of Israel, we've always been there, but creating the modern state of what it is, whether it's rebuilding in America, whether it's everything that we're doing. If you look at the Jewish story, from the hospitals we build to the inventions that we have, if you look at our story, you will find the story of the few people that are not scared of challenge. And from the challenge is born incredible blessings. That's what it means to be Israel. That's the blessing of this week's Torah portion. That's the story of our lives. To never lose perspective that many times the challenges that God sends us in our lives, they should never be painful. The challenges that God sends us in our lives are our pathways to blessing. And we are built for it because we are built to challenge. We have it in our blood. Our forefather, Jacob, this week's Torah portion, battled evil, battled challenge. And as a result, he emerged, not as Jacob, but he emerged greater than before as Israel. And all of us, if we look at every one of our challenges as our pathways to blessings, and we battle it, and we engage in it, and we emerge from it with a perspective of this is going to make me great, then we are not only tapping in to what's inherent in the challenge waiting for us, we're tapping into who we are, our essential us, the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, because we have it in us to engage in the challenge and to emerge greater with true blessing.